Yo, what's going on YouTube? Welcome back to another Pokemon card deck profile. Today we cover the standard format, and today's featured deck is Malamar. Again. So I'm sure I've featured this card on this channel in the past, and it's back again because it's just so damn good that it's not really going to leave for a good while. Lost Thunder brought it a brand new friend to help in its quest to being the best deck in the format. Of course, that's very, very debatable, and we haven't actually seen cards from Lost Thunder legal in tournament play just yet. However, this deck has shown that it can be very, very good because this list is covering, or it's taking influence from the list that we got in Japan, where it performed really, really well in one of those big tournaments that they usually have. And of course, the partner that we have that we're mentioning is Giratina. So Giratina has been released in Lost Thunder, and it's just so damn good. They mesh well, and I think it's kind of a better replacement to Deoxys. I think Deoxys is a great card, but I think Malamar just works so much better with Giratina. So this deck's a little more on the spread-based deck, and it's influenced by that list. It's not a direct copy, so we did take a few things out and put in things that we would like, and to be honest with you, Japanese lists tend to be a very, very odd thing to see, considering sometimes they don't even play 4 copies of Ultra Ball, like a lot of the lists that we normally see do. And it's, you know, that's one of the big changes that I did. You know, I had to have my 4 Ultra Balls. I wanted to see if I could get consistency as, you know, as much as possible. But yeah, I think this deck is really, really fun. Of course, I test out every single time, or every single deck that I make and showcase on the video. I test it myself to see how it runs. I make the changes that I like, considering they're not, you know, tournament winning decks. But if they're like decks that I want to showcase to you guys, yeah, I test them out to make sure that they're running the most optimal way possible, or at least for myself. So if you guys are hyped for today's video, make sure you drop a like on the video. Let's get started. So we are playing Malamar, of course. So to do Malamar, we have to have 4 Inkies that lead into 4 Malamar. So Malamar, 90 HP, Psychic type. Psychic Recharge is the ability once during your turn before you attack, you may attach a Psychic Energy card from your discard pile to one of your benched Pokemon. The attack, irrelevant. Weakness to Psychic, and a 2 retreat cost. We did mention Giratina earlier. We're playing 2 copies of Giratina. 130 HP, Psychic type. Distortion Door is the ability. Once during your turn before you attack, if this Pokemon is in your discard pile, you may put it onto your bench. If you do, put 1 damage counter on 2 of your opponent's bench Pokemon. Shadow Impact is the attack for 2 Psychic, 1 colorless, 130 base damage. Put 4 damage counters to one of your Pokemon. That is a requirement. You have to do that. Weakness is to Dark, and it has a fighting resistance with a 3 retreat cost. Now this card is very, very good, very, very interesting because of the ability Distortion Door. You start putting a little bit of damage here and there, and it gets kind of annoying for your opponent, considering there's going to be other cards in this deck that have spread kind of attacks and stuff like that. And I think this is a really cool card. It kind of has the ability like Darkrai GX. Obviously, I think this is a lot better, and we'll see a lot more play. But it's very, very similar in that ability, in that case, where it brings itself back to life. I just think it's so damn good because it puts damage counters on the board, considering that's what we want to do in this deck, because we're playing 2 copies of Tapu Koko, 110 HP, Flying Flip. For 2 colorless, attack does 20 damage to each of your opponent's Pokemon. Has free retreat, weakness to fighting type, resist steel type, electric ball. We're not even going to worry about that. But this is like the perfect starter that you can start with, because all it requires is pretty much just the DC, which we do run in this deck, and you start dealing damage all across the board and being a big nuisance to your opponent. But the spread does not stop there. Let's take a look at Shining Arceus. We're playing 1 copy, just 1. We can play 4, but we're only going to play 1 copy. 130 HP. Fabled Defense, as long as this Pokemon is your active Pokemon, prevent all damage done to your bench Pokemon by your opponent's attacks. So, if I'm reading that correctly, this actually stops mirror matches, like the spreads of your opponent's mirror matches, to stop those Tapu Kokos, to stop, I wouldn't stop the Decidueye, but you guys get it. It stops the spread of attacking Pokemon. And then you can also attack with it because it's really cool, and it is, you know, continues with the spread. Ultimate Arrow, this attack does 30 damage to each of your opponent's Pokemon. Don't apply weakness or resistance for the bench Pokemon. Weak to fighting, and a 2 retreat cost. Of course, the attack is a little heavy, but of course, if you're setting this up on the bench using Malamar's Psychic Recharge, you shouldn't have a problem at all. Another Psychic attacker that we have is Lunala Prism Star, 160 HP. First attack, Full Moon Star for 1 Psychic. For each of your opponent's Pokemon in play, attach a Psychic energy from your discard pile to your Pokemon any way you like. Size Storm for 4 Psychic. Again, shouldn't be hard to get if you're, working on Psychic Recharge with Malamar. Does 20 times. This attack does 20 damage times the amount of energy attached to all Pokemon. Yours, your opponents, the judges, everybody. Weakness. I'm kidding you, by the way. The weakness is 2 times the darkness, so it goes down to Zoroark, unfortunately, because it's still being played. Obviously, it's going to be being played for a long time because it's a really great card. Resistance to fighting, so we got that going on for us there. 3 retreat cost, and that's Lunala Prism Star. And the last card that we have is kind of a tech card, considering Giratina and Lunala are both weak to dark type Pokemon. We have ourselves 1 copy of Onix from Lost Thunder, 120 HP, so it's going to get return knocked out regardless. Land Crush 4 colorless does 120. However, if your opponent's Zoroark GX does not have a weakness policy, which they are playing, if it does not have it, you are getting that knockout on that GX. And of course, they'll return knockout on your Onix, but if you think about it, the prize exchange is in your favor. So we're only playing 1 copy because it is our tech card, and then of course we have ways of getting it back. But that's our Pokemon lineup. Things that we cut out were like Necrozma GX and Tapu GX. The Necrozma GX kind of continues the whole spread thing, but I hate to have 1 GX, just 1 GX. It's giving your opponent a free 2 price card, and then things like Shine and Punishment can get really, really annoying, stuff like that. But going into supporters, we're playing 4 copies of Cynthia. Shuffle your hand into your deck, then draw 6 cards. 3 copies of Guzma. Switch one of your opponent's bench Pokemon with their active. If you switch your active with one of your bench, then we're playing 1 copy of Judge for a little bit of disruption. Each player shuffles their hand into their deck and draws 4 cards. And then 3 copies of Louiee. Draw cards until you have 6 cards in your hand. If it's your first turn, draw cards until you have 8. Then 2 copies of Tate and Liza. It's a very, very familiar card in this archetype of deck. 2 different choices, pretty much. Shuffle your hand into your deck, then draw 5 cards. So shuffle, draw. Or switch your active Pokemon with one of your bench Pokemon. Basically a built-in switch. So it's pretty cool there. And then this, I've seen this before, but it's kind of new to me. TV Reporter. Draw 3 cards, then discard a card from your hand. If you have no cards in your deck, you can't play this card. This card is very, very reminiscent of, TV Reporter is obviously a reprint of the past. To me, though, it's very, very reminiscent to Graceful Charity in Yu-Gi-Oh! So I always, as soon as I saw this and I saw that this deck runs it, I'm like, yeah, this is staying. I want to use this. And of course, you can discard cards that, Psychic Energy, Giratina's, maybe other supporters you don't want to use, stuff like that. Maybe Shrine of Punishment if it's not useful in the matchup, things like that. But that's it for the supporter lineup there. Going into the items, we're going to start off talking about Ultra Ball, 4 copies. Discard 2 cards from your hand. If you do, search your deck for a Pokemon, reveal it, and put it into your hand. Shuffle your deck. This card is very, very... It's the one that I chose to make sure I had 4 copies of in the deck. Because the original list only played 2, which threw me off. But I understood completely because there's better ways of searching. Like Mysterious Treasure. Discard a card from your hand. Psychic or Giratina. If you do, search your deck for a Psychic or a Dragon Pokemon, reveal it and put it into your hand, then shuffle your deck. Most of this deck is Psychic, so it's easy search there. 3 copies of Nest Ball. Search your deck for a basic Pokemon, put it onto your bench, then shuffle your deck. Then we're playing 2 copies of Rescue Stretcher. 2 different choices you can make. Either put a Pokemon from your discard pile into your hand, or shuffle 3 Pokemon from your discard pile into your deck. So depending on the situation that you're in, you're probably going to want to do whatever is best for you in the situation that you're seeing. But we're not done with the spread in this deck just yet, because we're talking 4 copies of Spell Tag. When the Psychic Pokemon this card is attached to is knocked out by damage from your opponent's attack, put 4 damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon in any way you like. So this is really crazy because if you have a Spell Tag on a Giratina, and typically when you attack with Giratina, you're kind of going to put those 4 damage counters on this Pokemon because you expect to get return knocked out. You put a Spell Tag on that thing, and you're going to be putting 4 more damage counters on the board, being a huge nuisance to your opponent. And the thing is, Field Blower is not really getting played too much yet. I expect it to start seeing a little bit more play soon. However, Field Blower can't get rid of the Prism Star Stadium cards, so it kind of, you know, checks and balances here and there. People might not want to play it, people might want to play it, so it just really depends on the format and what's seeing play. But Spell Tag is a great Pokemon tool card to have right now for Psychic decks. And then 1 copy of Shrine of Punishment. Between turns, put 1 damage counter on each GX and EX Pokemon, both yours and your opponent. Now, we only play 1 copy. I would love to put more in here, but the space is really limited. Maybe get rid of something like a Judge, avoid the whole disruption thing, and just go with, you know, spread as much as I can. Because without, you know, stadiums, there's no real way of getting rid of the Prism Stadium cards, and that might be an annoyance with like Life Forest or Thunder Mountain and what's the other one? Heat Factor. You know, it just really depends. You might want to get rid of those. They might be, you know, something that your opponent can take advantage of, and with only one way of us getting it out of the way, you know, we might want to put more than that. But that's it for the stadiums and item cards. We are playing 10 copies of basic Psychic Energy and then 2 copies of DCE. Again, another weird number. I'm very much used to using 4 copies of double colorless. However, space is really limited in this deck. But you can use this double colorless for things like Onix, Arceus, Tapu, Koko. Not necessarily for anything else, but, you know, for those 3 guys right there, you can use the double colorless for. But I think the deck, it runs really smooth, and I think it's really fun to use. That's for sure. That's another thing I'm looking at with these decks coming out of Lost Thunder is, are they fun? To be honest, I'm seeing a lot of fun with things like Lost March. You know, I think it's really fun. But everything that I've played so far has been fun, and then once I get the kinks out and I figure out how the deck works, it's extremely fun, guys. But it looks like that's going to be it for today's video. Make sure to drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you are new. I post videos weekly covering both standard and expanded decks. Also, since Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee kind of dropped this week, expect to see videos and gameplay from my live stream that I'll be doing of the game on Friday and from now on. But I guess it's also a perfect time to plug my Twitch, especially if you guys want to watch live and show some love, if you guys want to support the channel a little bit more. So it's going to be twitch.tv/Louiee with 2 E's, L-O-I, I don't even know how to spell my name, but check the description, LouietV_. Check me out. I do a lot of, you know, Twitch streams. I do stream other games. However, my main focus for the foreseeable future will be Pokemon Let's Go. So I would love for you guys to come check me out there. Again, thanks so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.